Watauga County Commissioners. Larry Turnbow is here, he's just walking in right now. We also have Billy Kennedy. We have Tim Hodges, Tommy Schofield, Charlie Wildman, and David Plus. We'll again give each candidate a chance to identify himself, talk a little bit about why he's running, and we'll give him 2 minutes, and then I'll ask questions. Each one will have 1 minute to respond to the question that is asked. All 6 candidates will answer each question. And then at the end, we'll have an opportunity to wrap up with 2 minutes for each candidate. So we'll start with Mr. Turnbow.
Good evening. A couple of years ago, I ran on education, the environment, and our quality of life, which is recreation. So far, we've been able to break ground on one of those things. That's our rec facility. We've started long-term planning for our school systems, and I'd like to see those completed. That's why I'm running this time. We need to enhance and improve our quality of life here as much as possible so that we can continue to expand and develop non-sustainable jobs, which is another thing that I'm looking forward to in the future development. Thank you.
All right, Billy Kennedy.
I've been a commissioner for 6 years. I've lived here for 38 years, raised my kids here. I've got a farm out in Bethel. I think this is a really beautiful place to live where we all want to be, and the trick is to deal with some of the problems that some of the people still face in our county. We've got a lot of people that are, don't have health care, a lot of people that are, don't make enough money. 40% of the people in our county make less than $10 an hour, and that's just not affordable here. So one of the things we'd like to do is see wages rise. In the meantime, we've got, as Larry said, a good plan. We're fixing to improve and build new school facilities. For the first 4 years I was on the commission, we couldn't seem to get a rec center approved, and we were able to do that in the last 2 years. We broke ground last week ago, and it's going to be a beautiful center that's going to attract businesses and help people want to move here. And as much as you can keep people healthy, it's going to save us all money in the long run. I've been on the Child Protective Services, I've been on the Children's Council, I'm on a regional mental health board right now, I'm on the hospital board. I've seen all the levels of need in our county, and I want to make sure that the government provides the services that those people need to have better lives. In the meantime, we continue to make Watauga County the best place to live in North Carolina. And that's what I'd like to continue doing so that people would come here and have good, sustainable jobs and have a great life. So I'd appreciate it. I wanted to thank the Chamber. This is my 4th time here for allowing a civil dialogue. I think that's really important now too. And we need to just deal with these issues and keep moving forward. And I appreciate your vote this year. Thank you so much.
Tim Hodges.
This is my first time here, but I would like to thank the Boone and Blowing Rock Chambers for hosting this event and giving us the opportunity to introduce ourselves and share the ideas we have for Watauga County. My name is Tim Hodges. I'm a native and lifelong resident of the Vilas community. I attended Cove Creek Elementary School. I've graduated from Watauga High School and Appalachian State University. I've been a local small business owner for over 30 years here in the area. I've volunteered and served on many various organizations, coached a lot of sports teams. I currently serve on the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, Watauga County Economic Development Commission, and the Watauga County Cooperative Extension Advisory Board. I've been active in my church as a deacon and a Sunday school leader. My wife, Delora, and I have been married for 35 years. We have 3 married children. We have 5 grandchildren. Both my wife and I, our children and their spouses are all graduates of Appalachian State. I decided to run for county commissioner because I want to have the opportunity to give back to a community that has blessed both me and my family. I believe we're in a unique position to prosper economically, educationally, and culturally if we're unified and we use conservative common sense principles. We've got a lot of the pieces of the puzzle in place. I just think we need leadership where we can be bring all the pieces together and and make this work for the county. I believe I have those abilities and I have the experience to do that. I hope to have the opportunity as your next county commissioner. Thanks for having us.
In interest of full disclosure, Tim is a member of the Government Affairs Committee, but he recused himself every time we gathered together to develop questions, so he doesn't know what I'm going to tell him or ask him. Tommy Scope.
I'm Tommy Sofield. I originally grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I was fortunate to be able to get a football scholarship to come to Appalachian in 1971. In 75, when I graduated, I also was fortunate to be able to marry my high school sweetheart. We have 3 children, Heather, Haley, and Tommy, and we have 7 grandchildren. I was fortunate to be able to stay here in Boone as a local businessman. I started a successful steel building manufacturing company here in town. I've been running for over 40 years. And I've also been able to be active in the community, different activities. I am a member of the Watauga County Economical Commission. I've been a member of the different boards over at ASU. At Appalachian, I'm currently on the Board of Visitors, at ASU. I'm also a local, I'm a member of the Mount Vernon Baptist Church, where we've been active for years. And we also am a member of the Board of Directors for First Citizens Bank. We just recently, which we're proud of, were able to, with some other businessmen locally here in the area, able to start what you call a high country impact fund, where some local businessmen were able to put their own personal money up to be able to help local businesses get started when they couldn't get bank loans. So we've just gotten that started here locally, which is a big passion of mine. One of the reasons why I was running for county commissioner is that I think we have an opportunity to really grow businesses in the area. A lot of times on the Economical Development Board, we did a lot of talking, but a lot of stuff didn't happen. And I think there's an opportunity to truly get this thing started and going. With these funds we have, if you start a young business, there's not an opportunity to go get a bank loan. And there's an opportunity now through this fund to help these young businesses get started. So we're excited about that. I also have got a passion for our kids to be able to have better schools, to be able to go to school in. And not when we have a rainstorm, they get flooded out. We got 50-year-old schools. So I'm excited about all kinds of opportunities we have, and I look forward to serving the county as much as I can. Thank you.
Charlie Wilmer.
I'm Charlie Wallen. I moved here 30 years ago to come to school and never left. I'm native here in the mountains. I just moved a little ways up from Madison County. So I know what it's like to live and breathe up here, and being a lifelong mountain person. And I have, for the last 20 years, I have been the director of catering and event planning, in addition to many other titles I've had at Appalachian State University in the food service industry. Previously, before that, I spent 10 years running the Pizza Huts in town. I was the general manager for most of that time while I was there. So for 30 years, I've had a mixture of both the public and the private business background that I think it takes to be a county commissioner. I'm excited for this opportunity. I'm excited for what Watauga County has. In addition to those things that I've done in my job, I have also been on the Watauga County Planning Board for 8 years. 6 of those I served as the vice chair of that committee. I also wrote the last strategic plan that this county has ever had written and chaired that committee. I have served in many capacities on campus. I've been a staff senate president. I've served on the board of trustees at Appalachian. I have currently the occupational safety and health committee chair. I serve on the safety committee. I have served for 14 years on my POA board, holding every board position there is. I have also currently served as the chair of the Town of Boone ABC board. I am the president of our church council at Grace Lutheran Church, as well as being an assistant minister, an usher, and I think those are the ones there. I serve as the advisor for the college Dems on campus. So I have had many areas over this time that I have devoted to my community. And that's one of the big reasons I want to continue serving and want to be on a county commission is to do what's right for this community and for the people here in Watauga County, and to make the opportunities better for everyone, whether it's economic development or trying to make sure we have better police and better fire, and most importantly, schools. I have a 10-year-old daughter who attends Parkway, and it's very important to her and my wife.
David Bluss.
I came here 44 years ago and graduated from Appalachian State University. Been married to the same woman for 37 years. Got 3 wonderful boys. And I too have had the privilege of being elected county commissioner on 3 different occasions. It's an honor. And I don't take that lightly. And I know that when you're elected to an office, you are a servant, a public servant, and I certainly understand that. With a lot of my votes over the years, I was sitting up there thinking about little old men and little old ladies that live out in this county on a fixed income. Many of my decisions were based upon those things. I understand who the money belongs to. It belongs to you, the citizens. So, you know, there's a lot I'd like to get done also. We need two new schools presently, elementary schools. We're in desperate need of. A lot of our schools have got buildings that are 60, 70, and 80 years old. So I just think priorities have been out of whack a little bit, and I'd like to get back on the commission and get those things rolling again. Thank you for being here, and thank you for putting this on.
All right, let's start off with the questions. Billy Kennedy, you will start with this one. In light of the spate of recent shootings at schools across the country, I know that everybody feels we need a school resource officer in every school. Unfortunately, right now there are only 3. 1 for the high school, 1 for Glowing Rock that's funded by a local NGO, and the 3rd rotates around the other 7 schools. 2 positions have been open for interviews, so there are potential of 5, but we still have a lot of room. Are you ready to fund these for each school?
Well, it's we've been to I've been to a workshop at the high school with the state safety person. It was about a 6-hour workshop about, I don't know, a lot of principals, teachers attended. It was about 100 people there. It's got to take a multi-pronged approach to school violence. We fund the school board more than any other commission has funded them in the past. They're charged with making their decisions about how they spend their money. We've put more money into them than before. I believe they've hired new counselors and new nurses. And with the social services net that we've got in our county, that's another way we can work on it. We did allocate the money towards it this year, and I don't believe it should come out of fund balance. You need to operate within your budget. Fund balance is not a recurring line item. So anything you're going to do to recur year to year, you got to figure into the budget. And we've got room to figure these things into the budget, along with $100 million worth of school improvements over the next 10 years. So yes, with the right time and the right approach, multi-pronged approach, we will make our kids safer, and we've already done a lot already. Thank you.
Tim Hodges.
Well, I believe you can't put a value on life. I think we need to be proactive instead of reactive, and I think we need a school resource officer in every school. It's very important that our students feel like they have a safe learning environment, and I know the school board is doing a great job with the funds that they have with double vestibules and the cameras and all the things they're doing, but I firmly believe that we need school resource officers in every school.
Tommy?
I agree with what Tim just said. Take it a little bit further. I think that a lot of times the mental health we see in the schools, the nurses and the counselors have got an opportunity to be sort of on the front line. As you have a child that has some problems, you can pick up that early and hopefully be able to deal with it before it gets to the point that it does become violent. But as Tim just said, there's no value on life. I certainly would figure a way with the state funding and federal funding that's out there, instead of putting the burden just on the school board to fund it, there's ways to find money somewhere else. And we would work diligently to go bring that money into the county to help support where every school had an officer.
Sure, well.
I believe that we need to work and do everything we can to keep our schools safe and to keep our children safe. I do have a child that is currently in the school systems, and I value what she's able to go to every day at Parkway, and I've seen the changes that have been made in the 6 years she's been in school there. You know, it was kind of just a free-flowing in and out when she first entered kindergarten, to where this year with all the reinforced doors and security, I mean, it's just hard to explain how far we have come in such a short amount of time to secure these schools. And I don't believe that we have been reactive in any way. And I want to continue that. I want to continue to see us reinforce these schools and to do what we need to do and to get where we can have school resource officers. And we do need to have more social workers, and we do need to have more guidance counselors and nurses, because it takes a village to make sure that our children are safe. It can't be just one thing or two things. It has to be a whole village of things.
David Wells.
I agree with Tim and Tommy. I think all schools need an armed resource officer. You know, there are a lot of bad people out there. And when the bad guy comes, I want the resource officer to be armed. That may sound harsh, but I want the child protected. I want the teachers protected. And someone mentioned the fund balance. You know, you're required to have, I think, 8% in your fund balance, and we've probably got 25, 30, probably 30% at least. $61, $62 million budget. We've got a lot of money in there, so you know you don't need to be stockpiling all of that, but there's a lot of money out there, and I think Tommy mentioned this as well. There's a lot of state and federal grants. There's a lot of ways to do this where you're not putting the total burden on the county. So yes, simple yes to that question. All schools need a resource officer.
Larry Turbo.
Commissioner Kennedy and I were both at a full one-day school safety program with a state expert on school safety. And one of the things that he emphasized was there's a tiered process in making schools safe. And it was interesting, since I didn't walk in with a preconceived notion, as many people preconceive, the steps that we're taking in Watauga with hardening schools, we gave about $800,000 to do that. We gave more funds for counselors, for nurses. We're looking at frontline defense. We also doubled the SROs that we have in this county. Other folk have been on the commission before, and that didn't seem to be quite that important. But here again, I want to emphasize that we all would like for our children to be safe, and I've had 3 children that went through Watauga County schools. So yes, eventually we will need to place SROs in all school systems, but we do have to do it in a very tiered safety. Thank you.
We'll start next up with, let's see, Tim. One of our board members made the point that in late August, when school was opened at Hardin Park, all the doors had to be open because it was just unbearably hot. And that became a safety issue if somebody had come on campus with ill intent. It's estimated that investing in education involves a commitment of 80 to 100 million for capital needs. Hardin Park isn't the only school that needs help. How and where should this be funded? Tim?
That's a big question. I think Hardin Park is at 125% capacity. I think Parkway is at 92% capacity. We definitely have some school needs. I really feel like as we move forward, it's been mentioned that there's long-range planning, but we should have been doing this before now, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We can't be, when things get so bad, then we have to start reacting and start scrambling to fund schools. I would like to work diligently with the school board on a long-range plan to fund our new schools. We need new schools. Hardin Park needs a new school. Valley Cruces needs a new school. They have issues. We have ongoing maintenance. So I know we fund the schools tremendously here in this county, and I think that's a great thing. That's one of our great investments, I think, is our school. I think as we move forward, we may need to look into a bond referendum to fund those schools.
Tommy?
The schools, obviously, as we talked about before, there's a tremendous need for new schools. Obviously, trying to figure out how to do that, takes some planning. As a businessman, you'd want to have planned already 5-10 years ago to make this happen, which obviously we haven't done. So now's the time to start. We have to get started on it. And I agree with Tim. I think that we need to go to everybody in the community, all the stakeholders, all of our citizens, and offer to them what our plans are. It's going to take a bond referendum to do it. It's going to take a lot of money. $100,000 is a lot of money to happen. It doesn't all have to be done at one time. We can do it over a period of time with a bond referendum. With that in mind, we also got all kinds of opportunities to generate other kind of funds, which I'm a believer in from the business sector, that you have different kind of state funds that might be matched, federal funds. There's all kinds of family foundations that might come into our community that offer that. So I think as a group, putting it all together, we should have an opportunity to work together as a whole. One thing I'd like to see is when a community does drop a school into a community, that community is represented by the elderly and everybody else can participate in that school, not just the school kids, so they'd have a chance to be able to utilize that as a senior citizens section of our county.
Charlie Wong.
School funding is already underway, and there's already been plans made, and part of the tax increase that went into effect was to go towards the schools to help offset some of this cost, but that's not going to offset all of it. And we've watched as our next door neighbors have gotten $15 million each to apply towards new schools. So we do need to go out and we need to work with our legislators, both in Raleigh and in DC, to secure more funding. We have a representative now that's sitting on the Education Committee in Washington, D.C. that we can look to get us some more funding for this area so that we can do more for our schools. Because it's not just replacing schools. As we said, there's air conditioning needs in a lot of the schools. There's roofs that need to be replaced. There's parking lots that need to be replaced. You can't just look at replacing whole schools. There's upkeep on these buildings that I know of from being in the business world all these years that you have to maintain, or you're going to be in trouble there too if you just start neglecting them and just trying to fund replacing schools.
David Bliss.
I agree with, I think Tommy and Tim said it, we need a bond referendum. And I know Harry Yates and I were of belief a couple years ago that with the rec center, when you're going to spend $35–40 million, you need to put it on a bond referendum, let you people vote on it, and then go from there. And that didn't happen. And that's basically the cost of an elementary school right there, $35–40 million. So, we got to roughly get $90 to $100 million in school needs over the next few years. The sad reality is the new high school that was built in '8 and '9 started off at $56 million. It ended up at $89 million. That set the elementary schools back a few years right there. So the lack of planning back during that time was kind of weak, really. But yeah, bond referendums needed. We have 2 new schools, that you've heard that, but we have a lot of other schools. I think Charlie just touched on it, that have other major capital needs. So to me, schools is a priority, safety a priority. Some of these other things don't tend to be priorities, they tend to be wants. So yeah, bond referendum is going to have to be. The last one was in 1992.
Harry Turnbull.
I can't really speak to whether we should have a bond referendum right now or not for schools. The real issue I'm looking at with that is if voters go out and decide to vote down the bonds, then we still have $100 million of repairs and replacements in the school. So is the answer to that going to be, well, the voters voted it down? I don't think so. Yeah, we needed planning, 70 years ago, 60 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and it wasn't done. The day I was sworn in as a commissioner, we started long-term planning with our school board. We started giving more funds to our school board, and we will continue planning, replacing, and repairing our schools. Thank you.
Billy Kennedy.
The air conditioning is probably going to be maybe $40 million. And yes, that's something that's going to happen gradually, because we need to be able to close those doors. Of the tax increase we did, $1.5 million approximately is going to schools every year. Since we've done such good management of our government, our county bond rating has gone from AA to AA+. So when we do need to borrow more money, our rates will be much lower and we'll save the county money. I do believe that these schools need to be fixed, and it seems to be an agreement across the board. So then it's just a question of how we're going to pay for it and how soon we're going to do it. We've spent a year or two designing this rec center, and there's a long process with architects and designing the proper way to do it and finding out your subs. And that's the way you do it, and you get your bid, you find out what's the lowest price where you can do it, what you really need. We cut $4 million out of the rec center that we figured we didn't have to have. So you just make your priorities and you elect officials to make those hard calls. Thank you.
All right, Tommy, you'll start off with this next question. The 105 Super Street has a potential to destroy business on an important artery in Boone and the county. What's your position on this proposal?
Well, the DOT is the one in charge of the roads. County commissioners don't have much say-so in it. Obviously, we can come out with everybody, the community, the university, everybody needs to get involved in it. As far as, it looks like what I've seen of it is not a good plan. It's detrimental to the businesses. It's hard to maneuver around, but it seems to be a new style that the DOT has picked to do for all these different roads that they're working on. Again, I think collectively as a community, we're going to have to get together and sit down with DOT and see about reworking however they're going to go about taking care of the traffic problem, which we do have. There is a traffic problem. We need to figure it out. I don't think the current plan that they have is the one that we need to be working on. But as a community, we're all going to have to get together, including Appalachian and the county and the town, to try and fix the best opportunity we can to make that work better.
Chairman Wallen?
It is not a good plan. When looking at it, it's, as you said, it's detrimental to the businesses up and down that highway. I go to church with a business owner on that highway, and he's been one of the more outspoken ones from the get-go. And, you know, we have to go to our legislatures, and we have to make a case to them of why this is a bad idea, and to try to use some of the influence that we have in Raleigh to bridge that gap, to make sure that this road does not happen and get built the way it is. Yes, it is dangerous, and yes, we have issues, but this is not the solution. We can come up with better solutions. We have a local member that is on the DOT board that we need to be reaching out to and talking to, and making sure that he knows that we're not happy with the situation that's been put before us here with this highway. Because killing business in this town is not a good plan ever. And we've got to figure out how to make this road safe, but do it in a way that can be beneficial to all of the businesses.
David Bluss?
Totally agree. I think the plan is way off base. I think it really kills business. And they've done overkill on this. I do think that the town of Boone needs to put their foot down. I think they could be a major player in this, because no business, I've talked to a lot of the business owners there, no one is for this. It's really going to be a problem. But I think both of you guys said this, everybody needs to be involved, our state legislators, county commission, the ASU hierarchy. I've not found anyone that's in support of this except DOT. So I'd like to see it changed.
Larry Turner?
We've all supported state highway road and safety, and the plan is for state highway road and safety. We need to make the distinction between saying that we don't want to support a safety plan and saying that we don't want to support a design that's poor. What we have problems with is the design of this particular system. We need better road safety on 105. We don't need this plan. The county commission sent a letter of concern, all the commissioners signing it, to the DOT, that we support the plan, we support road safety, but we do not support this design.
Billy Kennedy?
This is kind of an example of one size doesn't fit all. Most towns have plenty of room for business strips and corridors to stretch out. You know, it doesn't work here, you go a mile, 2 miles down the road and you do another development. We have 3 business corridors in Watauga County, and these are the main ones we want to develop. And we need to make it safer for people to get in and out of there, but we don't need 11,000 people to take a right turn to take a left on 105 off of the bypass. So this design needs to be tweaked and fixed. We're all for safety, but we are not, I do not believe this particular design is the right thing for Watauga County.
Tim Hodges.
Been a business owner on Highway 105 for over 30 years. I've traveled that road basically every day of my life. This plan won't work, and I know a lot of other business owners on that corridor that feel the same way. I feel like that we need to put pressure as a county, and I think we're trying to do that, but as Tommy said, it's really a DOT issue. But I would like to compliment the chamber and other business leaders. We've gotten together and written a letter in strong opposition of this. So I feel like that's one of the things we can do, and actually I'm asking y'all to do the same thing, because as business owners, that's a major business corridor for our community. If we do this super street, it's just going to be a through street, and that's, as we all know, we have traffic problems anyway. I am thankful that at least they're addressing our concerns, but this plan won't work, and I'm in opposition to it.
All right, this is for Charlie Wallen to start. One major issue for local small business is employee recruitment and retention. One problem is affordable workforce housing. There's little available in the county. What's your solution?
This is a problem that has been going on in this county for 40, 50 years. We talk about it a lot as a county, and we talk about we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but it never materializes. If we're going to be serious about this, people have to be serious about it. The community has to be serious about it. Builders have to be serious about it. We have to have buy-in from everyone in this community. It can't be just we want. People are going to have to give and take on this issue, and we're going to have to make some sacrifices. There may not be as much money made because we're going to do something reduced, and we're not going to make it just for students, for college students to rent, and what's the highest price we can get for this place. No one has wanted to make that sacrifice. We have to work together as a community to come up with a solution that's going to work for everybody so that we can have affordable housing. Because until serious conversations and serious concessions are made, we're never going to have affordable housing in this county.
David Bless.
Everyone wants to maximize what they can make. And the sad news is you live in a place where the cost of dirt is outrageous in this county. Has been for years. It's going to be very difficult if you can work in the government to keep taxes low, which taxes are relatively low, but the values that we place on things are very high, so it's a very expensive place to live. I just think government does not need to be in the business so much of working to make affordable housing, but to work with other people. Like I know a number of business owners in the construction business that don't mind, giving things at a reduced rate. Gary Yates is a great example when he gives away with New River Building Supply. But again, you've got to have enough people that want to, put their land up at a decent price. It's going to be a difficult solution. Again, it's just an expensive place to live, and I hate that, but it's always been that way.
Larry Turnbull.
One of the things that we did on the county commission last year, we have some land that we were not going to develop. We offered to go in conjunction with the town of Boone and have this developed for affordable professional housing. We have plans in Charlotte, around the state, where this has been in effect, and basically it's a capping effect on how much profit folk can go in and make when they sell their house, so it stays low. But it was a starting point for us to be able to develop these sorts of homes in Watauga County. I believe on that property we could have developed 18. The unfortunate side effect was Boone decided to turn us down, even though this is something we've been trying to do for 20 years. Thank you.
Billy Kennedy.
Larry just said it. We've got a letter just last week or two ago from the Housing Authority, Workforce Housing, and they've kind of given up. It's really sad. We've been trying to work on this. It's been on there ever since I've been on the commission. It's been an issue. Land is expensive in the county. Like I say, like Larry said, the county does have some land we'd love to turn into workforce housing. And people with stable homes and houses are much better community citizens, and we all benefit when people have safe, warm homes to be in Watauga County.
Tim Hodges.
I I'm in the real estate business, and I work with young families all the time looking for affordable housing, and it's tough. It's an expensive place to live. It's expensive to build here. And I do know about the issue that Larry and Billy were talking about, the land that we had available. The town didn't want to work with us as far as providing the water and sewer, so that makes it tough. It's a tough situation, and I'm not sure there's an easy answer for this question, but it is one that I think is on the mind of the community. And, you know, I have faith in our community that if we put our mind to it, that we can come up with answers. But it's going to take all of us working collectively on that. But it's a tough thing to have affordable housing, just to be truthful and honest with it. Being in the business, I see it every day.
Tell me so.
This is sort of a passion I have. We have an opportunity in front of us to work together as a community, bringing the town, county, and university together. Nothing will happen with affordable housing without the infrastructure. You're going to have the water and sewer. You have to have a higher density. You're going to have to get the town to work with us to expand the water and sewer further out into the county to be able to get some affordable housing. It's not just affordable housing for people who don't have jobs. This is for people who are trying to come in here, as your question was. Somebody coming here to work, whether it be professors or whoever else, that want to have housing that is not $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, but a $250,000 home that's a nice home. The only way it'll happen is with infrastructure, and that's something we have to continue to work on and work diligently to get it done, continue to move that forward.
With 6 people on the panel, I don't have an opportunity to ask as many questions as I'd like, but we're running out of time. So at this time, I give you 2 minutes to summarize and ask the voters for your vote. We'll start with David Plus.
At state and federal levels, Republicans have cut taxes and regulations, and the economy is booming right now. Locally, the Democrats have done just the opposite. I fear for that. I worry about priorities. We need new schools. You've heard that. We have capital needs. School board tells us it's $100 million over the next few years. We need resource officers at every school. We need 2 to 3 new road deputies in the sheriff's department. So again, I'm concerned about the priorities of this present board. Rec center is wonderful and it sounds great, but the citizens rejected it 8 years ago overwhelmingly, and now it's up to 37 or 38 million dollars. It started at 30, and I contend to you it'll be 45 before it's over with. So I'm very concerned with those priorities right there. Spending seems to be rampant with the present commissioners right now. I think if you want someone that knows who the money belongs to, it belongs to you, the citizens, someone that would be a good steward of your money. I've always said that. In 10 years of being a county commissioner, didn't have to raise taxes one time. We built the new sheriff's department, the health department over there with good planning. So I asked for your vote. I would say November 6th, but apparently it's already started and there's quite a bit of voting, so any time between now and then just about. But yeah, we have a lot of major issues, and I just think that you need people with good common sense up there that know how to prioritize what is a need and what is a want. So I'm David Bloss, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Larry Turnbull.
One of the most interesting things that I've been reading lately was about recreation in Iceland. They had a lot of problems with youth drinking. And in examining the problem, they decided to give each family $250 for recreation and started building more infrastructure for recreation. Within the first month after that program started, in interviewing the teens that were involved, 90% of those teens were not drinking, getting drunk. So when we talk about quality of life and quality of health and quality of being a human being, we have to offer our children another form of entertainment, not just drugs, not just drinking, not just sitting in front of a computer and being isolated and not socialized. All of the things that we're doing right now are a long-term plan that it's unfortunate that some people don't understand. I can't speak to that. I can speak to the fact that the school board has been supportive. We've given more money to the school board than they've ever received. That is our priority. We will continue to work with them. We will continue to solve problems that have been allowed to go on for 70 years. And if you want your problems solved, don't look to raising tariffs, which is putting people out of business, putting folk out of jobs, adding $4 or $5 million on projects, or taking money out of our lottery funds, which is supposed to be going back to our communities for school infrastructure, and putting it in the general funds and giving tax breaks to the wealthiest folk in this state. Instead, vote for me, Larry Turnbow, vote for Billy Kennedy, and vote for Charlie Wallen, and we will continue to do the work for this county. Thank you.
Billy Kennedy.
I've got, 6 years ago when I ran, I came out with my 4 bullet points, and I think I can still use them. Provide our teachers and schools with the resources needed to nourish our children. I've been doing that. Keep Watauga County beautiful for those who live here and those who visit. I've been doing that. Make sure the government is fair, honest, and efficient while working for everyone. That's what I've been doing. Create an environment where businesses can thrive and create jobs. That's what we're doing. That's what it's all about here. We've got an early childhood initiative. We're one of 9 counties in the country that got a Pritzker grant to work on our 0 to 3 group, and that's a critical element of the future of our country and our county. Like I say, once again, we've got our bond rating has gone from AA to AA+, so I'm not quite sure where this charge of wild spending is. Our tax rate is the 3rd lowest property tax rate in the state still. We've got plans for our ADC, we've got plans for the schools. We need to keep going and make these plans a reality. And one thing I found out when I was elected, and I thought about this before, is you represent everybody in the county. And for me, my special interest is every person in Watauga County, and I will continue to work for every person in Watauga County as long as I'm an elected official. Government is not like business. We need to be as efficient and plan well, but we're not in the business of making money. We're in the business of providing services, crucial, important services that people's lives are improved by every day. And I want to continue to make sure those services are there, that we have good financial sense, and that common sense prevails. And that's what I want to do. I'm Billy Kennedy, and I encourage you to vote for Billy, Larry, and Charlie. Thank you.
Tim.
Thank y'all for being here and listening to us. Wish we had more time to discuss other issues, but I wanted to close by saying Watauga County is my home. I've never lived anywhere else, and I can truthfully say I've never wanted to live anywhere else. I have a deep affection for this county and all the citizens that also call Watauga County home. Over the years, I've noticed that in every campaign season, those of us who are natives feel it's important to say that we're natives. In fact, now that I have grandchildren, my family's been blessed to live here for 11 generations. But the question is why? Why is being a lifelong resident important? Here's how I see it. I'm 56 years old. I have witnessed firsthand the transformation of this rural community into a bustling and diverse county that it is today. This helps me understand the perspective that longtime residents have with the changes, both positive and negative, that are occurring rapidly. I was educated in the local school system and graduated from Appalachian State. My wife served on the Watauga County School Board. These educational experiences help me understand the great strides we've made and the challenges we face ahead. For the past 30 years, I've owned and operated a small businesses that have welcomed new businesses, new residents, students, and visitors to our county. It's through my business experience that I have learned what a great asset it is to our county to welcome new neighbors who have different perspectives and different ideas. Every day I hear their perspective as I do business with them. My desire to be your next county commissioner for District 3 is to be a public servant. As you can see from our discussion this evening, there's a lot going on in our mountain community. There are hard decisions to be made, and sometimes we'll have to agree to disagree on the best plan of action. We've discussed many issues that are present before the Watauga County Board of Commissioners. However, I think it's important to note that in the years to come, we'll have different issues, and we'll have more hard decisions to make. So I ask as you cast your vote to please consider the person you elect who will not only govern the county today, but will be dealing with the issues of today, but will be making hard decisions in the future. Vote for the candidate who you feel will listen well to your thoughts and perspectives, evaluate the options available with common sense, and make the best decision possible for everyone. Vote for the candidate you feel has the character and experience to conduct the business of the county, and one who understands the great responsibility of stewarding taxpayer money wisely. I believe my life experiences living in this awesome place have qualified me for this, and I ask for your vote.
Tommy Sophie.
I want to thank everybody for coming out and listening to the issues. And I think we've got a lot of opportunity. I've been blessed, and I'm not a politician. I've never run for any office before, but I've been blessed here locally in the community, and I just felt it was time for me to be able to get back with just some common sense leadership. Some of the things that we're having problems with is the town, the county, and the university working together. And I think I've got an opportunity to work with all of them, with just relationships I've had over the years where we can bring things together. We heard tonight where we don't have housing because they won't the town won't supply water. I mean, those are issues that should not be happening. It's just a matter of communicating and making sure that we can work together as a community for the well-being of everybody. Jobs. We have got a tremendous need for jobs. We've been talking about it forever. We need jobs for our children and our grandchildren so they don't have to leave this county when they graduate from school. Right now, how many families are having to leave our county and go off the mountain and get jobs somewhere else? There's no reason for it. We need to work hard and diligently to be able to have better jobs here, which is something that we can go do. We talked about the schools earlier. It's disappointing to hear that Ashe County just got a $15 million grant because they looked and found money that was available elsewhere. And here we have all these needs for all these things for our schools, and we're out here trying to fund it ourselves with our own money from our citizens. There's opportunities, there's grants, and there's all kinds of different ways that you can approach finding funding. That's one of the things I think I can do a good job at, is being able to communicate with these state officials and different people from a business standpoint of trying to find money that's available in different places. The other things that I'm really passionate about is why are we raising taxes when we got $40 million or whatever it is in our bank account? This is the citizens' money, not the government's, not the county. And I want to try and keep taxes low and make sure that we do everything we can to find money elsewhere before we ask our citizens to spend their money. So I appreciate your vote, and we appreciate your support. I can assure you, if I do become a county commissioner, I'll work for everybody in the county. Look forward to doing it.
Charlie Will.
Thank y'all. Thank you for the Boone Chamber, the Blowing Rock Chamber, for putting this on and taking the time to bring everybody out tonight. And thank y'all for being engaged and being here. It's so great to look out and see a room full of people here, and people that are listening on the radio and those who may be at other locations watching, listening. Thank y'all for being active participants, because that's what this whole process is about, is being engaged and making the right decisions and the right choices in this election and any election, and being there and being present and voting. And I just appreciate everyone who's come out and for your attentiveness and for just being here to listen to all of us. And I do wish we could have had more time to talk, but I know there's many other candidates who deserve time to here tonight. I also want to thank my wife and my daughter for coming out and supporting me tonight. They're both here. It's not often they get to be here, and I'm blessed that they're here to be here to support me, and I just thank them for taking the time out of their schedules to be here for me tonight. And folks, we do have challenges to face in this community, and we've overcome a lot of them, and we've done a lot to grow this area, and it is so much better than when I got here 30 years ago. I've been investing my time for 30 years in my community. I've not just worked, I've not just run businesses, I've not just been a person at the university. I've been engaged locally, whether it's in churches or it's nonprofit organizations, or it's working with county governments and doing and making the connections, not only here, but in Raleigh and in DC, so that I can have this opportunity one day to represent you as a commissioner here in this county. And I cherish wanting to be able to do that. And I want to represent each and every person in this county. And I want us to do something about the jobs. We have jobs. There's jobs available. We just don't have good paying jobs. I don't know if many of you know this, but we have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the whole state. The problem is, we have one of the highest poverty rates in the whole state. These are issues we got to address. It's not just finding jobs. You got to find good paying jobs for the people of this community who want to keep them here. And that's going out and finding businesses that'll come and invest in this area, businesses that'll work and grow. Folks, I served on this county as a writing the strategic plan, and we wrote a great plan 8 years ago on how to go forward. And if we'd have followed that 8 years ago, we would be in a much better place. And I want to see us move this county forward, and I want to see us make the changes we need. And I want to do it with Billy and Larry on the commission, and John Welch and Perry, and I want us to see to move the county forward. So please vote Charlie Wallen for county commissioner, whether it's tomorrow or on November 6th. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the candidates for the Watauga County Commissioner's Office.